Level up your LA Kings experience with the new Vivid Seats Elite Seats. All the on-ice Kings action with even more exclusive access. Enjoy great seats to the game along with premier dining inside the Lexus Club with all-you-can-eat food and non-alcoholic beverages. Plus, get a free Team LA Kings item and parking with your purchase. Score your Vivid Seats Elite Seats tickets today and earn rewards on each purchase from the only ticket company that rewards you for buying. Experience it live with Vivid Seats, the official partner of the LA Kings.
You're listening to an LA Kings podcast. For more episodes of this and every other Kings program, visit lakings.com/podcast.
Wildcats use the wall along the right side. Conmy has Devlin on his left. A shot and a score! Ryan Conmy finds the...
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings.
He comes out with it. Good feed to Wright. Shot! Score! Pretty goal for Jared Wright.
Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
Welcome back, Kings fans. I'm Jesse Cohen. This is All the Kings Men. The draft is over. Development camp is over. Free agency news has slowed down to barely a trickle, and it looks like the real offseason is here. We'll be bringing you conversations all summer long about the players the Kings acquired since the last time they took the ice. We've got players acquired at the draft, players acquired via trade, and of course through free agency. We'll start those episodes real soon, but first we've got some conversations I had at development camp with a trio of prospects, Ryan Conmy, Jared Wright, and Matthew Mania. But first, a chat that Dan Greenspan and I were able to have with Jakub Dvorak at his locker after one of the morning sessions on day one. Hope you enjoy this look at some of the prospects. And stay tuned all summer long because we're not going anywhere.
How's the transition to North America going?
To be honest, it's hard. It's difficult because for us European guys, it's long travels and being far from home. But you can adapt on it, so it was pretty quick. Yeah.
How do you feel about this portion of your season spent in Swift Current?
It was actually pretty good. I was surprised about the people there and the stuff we had. So I got a lot of space there, so I can't complain about anything there.
How do you feel your game is coming along?
I think that junior hockey helped me a lot because there's more things you can do on the ice. You're not under that pressure that I was used to be in Czech Pro League. So that's positive because you're gaining confidence with that and all the stuff. So I was feeling better. Yeah.
It kind of caught people by surprise when you moved to Swift in January. What kind of went into that decision?
Yeah, so it was long run because like from the beginning of the season till like December, I was in Czech and I wasn't getting that much space and the things weren't that good that I expected. So yeah, I made the decision and I'm happy I did it.
In terms of just you hit on it a little, but the transition to the North American game, the bigger ice size, how long did it take you to really sort of settle in, and how are you do you feel more comfortable now?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the jet lag was even worse than adapting on the rink and the North American hockey style. So for me, it was pretty quick. I'm used to it. I'm used to get ready for new things really quick. So it was like I would say 2 weeks, and I was in it. So good.
We saw that your offensive game seemed to pick up in Swift. How is that part of your skill coming along?
Yeah, definitely. I knew that I have the offense skill in me, but it's harder when you're playing against older men. So you don't have that much space to do those things. So I'm glad that I discovered that skill again in Swift, and like I said, there's not that pressure because if you lose, you're not going league under. So you just can play hockey.
It's only been half a season, but has there been? Is it easier to communicate with the Kings development staff when you're in North America than if you're playing in Europe?
Yeah, definitely. I met them like 5-6 times since I was going to North America. So they were coming to Swift pretty often, so it was a lot easier.
Where are you at kind of in your physical development in terms of strength and just that part of your growth?
Yeah, I would say it got better, a lot better, because last year I got a pretty serious injury. I was out a few months, so the strength and the conditioning and all the stuff went a little bit down. So I had a pretty decent summer, and I would say that I gained that back. So yeah.
What have the Kings told you about sort of their expectations for this year, the coming 12 months?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know yet. We'll see after this death camp or after the rookie camp in September. So yeah, we'll see after that.
Would you personally like a chance to get to play AHL, or like what are your expectations?
Yeah, like my main goal is definitely to be the longest time possible on the training camp. So that's the main goal. Yeah.
Joining me now, LA Kings prospect Ryan Conmy. How are you doing today, Ryan?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I've got a couple different angles that I want to come at you with. So I'm going to start off right away. I was reading scouting reviews of you, and I've lost the quote now, but the gist of it was that you attack the net. Here it is. Conmy's a precision shooter, crafty playmaker, and inside lane attacker. Give him any gap, however small, and he instantly cuts inside, slipping around opponents as necessary. He enters every board battle with a couple of shoulder checks to plot his escape. If he can't handle through traffic, he connects with a backhand or slip pass through opponents. Now, the reason that stuck out to me is because last year at development camp, I think it was development camp, there was a play you scored on during one of the scrimmages, and it has stood out in my mind a year later because Brant Clark was on the wall, drew attackers to him, and you drove the center lane, and he found you with a pass, and you scored from like the high slot. But it stood out to me because you had to be able to recognize that opportunity was there. You would have been totally excused to just float around the perimeter or not make an aggressive move, but you did, and because you did, Clark was able to find you, and because he found you, there was a goal. Finding that quote about inside lane attacker, do you remember that play?
Yeah,
you're smiling and nodding the whole time.
Yeah, no, I remember that one.
And is that how you like to play the game?
Yeah, I mean, I love to play offense. I like to create offense. I think that's definitely a stronger part of my game. So kind of just finding ways to get open and then obviously use my shot to beat goalies or even just create, rebounds on front and, crash the net. So just creating offense in general is something I take pride in.
Your assistant coach at New Hampshire, Jeff Giuliano, how many times does he talk to you about his playing time in LA?
Not too much. He's not, gloating about it, but he definitely brings it up. And, he had a great career, a long career. So kind of just giving me tips throughout the year and kind of how to, be a professional. So it's good to have him around.
I don't want to make too big a deal of it, but Jeff Giuliano, not exactly the largest hockey player that ever played for the LA Kings. Is it helpful to have a coach with a similar stature?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he works more with the D at school, but obviously, like you said, he's a smaller guy, and you can see just him walking around like he's a sturdy guy. He's built, so kind of just being able to see that, and even just like he still does small workouts every day, like before games and like practices, and you can just see that around the rink. So like he just takes pride in being in shape after his career. So kind of just carrying that through and kind of just being able to see that every day is pretty cool.
I'm going to read a quote from Mark Yannetti because we just talked to him recently on our podcast and your name came up. And he said, UNH is pretty close to me, so anytime I have a night off or something like that and UNH is playing, I just shoot up. And as I said, talking about you, a 6th-round pick, unheralded, he was one of the drivers of that team. You led the team in scoring. He said, it's really exciting. There's a different level of excitement, but the gratification and the excitement I get from watching more unheralded guys, it's probably a little more fulfilling. Is it nice to hear the director of amateur scouting be that? I mean, it doesn't come through in the quote, but he was obviously very high on you, very excited about the season you had.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool. Just every night trying to go out and do your thing. And obviously, there's people watching from in person, online, stuff like that. So kind of just being able to be consistent and, bring it every night.
How did you feel your season in New Hampshire went?
I thought it was awesome. We had a great year, a lot of guys coming back. So super exciting and, really looking forward to getting back there and kind of starting the season.
we know that there's a lot of rules about how much contact they're allowed to have with collegiate players. They don't want to, interfere with your eligibility. They don't want to ruin your time there. So how much contact are you allowed with the Kings development staff over the course of the season?
Yeah, I mean, they'll come out occasionally, like Stoll, Mel, and Manon came out a couple times. So Teddy as well, just popping out and, just checking in. So obviously that, and then the development guys like coming out here. So just checking in with stuff that I can work on, stuff they see in the games, little things like that to kind of just, build me up throughout the year and then come out here and kind of put it all together and, keep creating stuff that I can keep getting better at.
You mentioned Manon Rhéaume. She's got sort of a unique role. How helpful was it to have someone like that in that role, much closer to you than Los Angeles?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she just comes out. Obviously, she's, knows so much about hockey, but just like having someone to talk to, like most of the time when I sit down with her, and it's not too much about hockey. Obviously, that's kind of the main point. She's there, but she, checks in about stuff going on in school, at home, family, stuff like that. So it's cool to kind of just push that aside and talk with someone that's with hockey, not about hockey. So I think that's awesome.
We talked to Caleb Lawrence recently, and he mentioned all of the individual coaches he has. And, he just signed an ELC, so obviously he's got a little bit more budget for signing coaches and stuff like that. But when you're involved with a pro franchise, you've got Dev Camp last year. They obviously give you stuff to work on. Then you go to your college team. Obviously, they have coaches that they have stuff that they want you to work on. Do you have, being a student and an athlete, do you have time for investing in independent coaching?
It's tough. Like you said, I'm bouncing around. Like we're going up to school for a month. Then you're at home for a month. So it's kind of, finding skates like that. But I work with a goalie coach, which is kind of like, it's a little different, but just being able to like talk with the goalies and like coaches of the goalie, being able to see like different angles and kind of what they see, I think is, it's like the second summer I've done it, second or third summer. So kind of a little different, but I like that kind of angle of attack, and especially in the off season, kind of be able to, just see little things that the goalies might see that they don't always get to, tell the shooters.
That's really smart, and I'm actually annoyed that it never occurred to me that a forward might want to do that. Where did you get the idea to do that?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you skate with goalies in the summer, and just went out to one with my buddy back home, who's he's going to college next year as well. So he's a good goalie, and then just kept getting invited out, and I was like, this is kind of pretty cool, pretty neat. So I just kept doing it, and I loved it. Obviously, like I brought up before, offense is where I like to, focus most of my game. Obviously, take care of the defensive zone, but that's a huge part of scoring is, beating the goalie. So,
have there been moments where obviously in the middle of a game, you don't have a ton of time to stop and reflect, but have there been moments on the attack where you used something that you directly learned from working with a goalie coach?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like about to shoot and, thinking about that. Like it's kind of like instinct at that point, but like sometimes we'll even come back to the bench and ask the goalie on the bench, like, just like small questions about like did I have him there, stuff like that, kind of just trying to figure out different ways to, obviously as you move up in levels, it's tougher to score on the goalies. You're bigger and stronger and more flexible. So just little ways if I can, get a little edge on some other guys.
Now, I got to ask this. Apologies if it's been asked a million times before. Most hockey players they fall into some pretty stereotypical backgrounds, right? Like Alberta farm boy, South Ontario, Toronto area. Alexandria, Virginia, how did you discover hockey?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Florida. I was only there for a couple of years. My dad is in the Air Force, so we moved up to Virginia, and he was actually born up in Buffalo, and my mom is from Boston. So those are two, I'd say, pretty big hockey hubs. And my aunt, actually, my dad's sister, was family friends with Patrick Coletta, who's on the Sabres. He's not like a huge name, wasn't like a crazy skilled guy. That's why I wear 36 at school, and I've always worn 36. So just going up to like see my aunt, and he was always around with my cousin. So it was pretty cool to, see him and then go to a Sabres game and see him out there, and just like having him around was pretty cool. So I think that was kind of what triggered me to obviously play hockey. And then my mom always brings it up. Like when we moved to Virginia, like there wasn't too much ice in Florida. So I was like, we were moving north, and I was kind of just like, can I play, on real ice now? Because we would just play rollerblades when I was little, like 3 or 4 in the garage. So as soon as we got up there, we figured get me on ice and, started from there.
Were you rooting for the Like, do you have any Florida allegiance because you were born there and spent a couple of years? No.
I was on the Panhandle in Pensacola, so it was like a little further away from those. But no, not too, yeah.
And what age did you really like invest in the idea of being a hockey player?
I would say like once I got to Virginia and I started getting on ice, like obviously is still 4 or 5 years old, so it's like it's still just a dream at that point. 5
years old, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, it takes a while to, build up, like I said, instincts before and all that, like training and stuff. But, I just stuck with it, and I always just loved it. And then just flying around on the ice when I was little, that's the thing I remember.
A couple more and I'll let you go. Appreciate you giving us your time today. How individual do the coaches get at development camp? This is your second one now. From like last year, were they pulling, does each player get their own worksheet, for lack of a better word? Like, do you have individual assignments that you have to work on during dev camp?
No, I wouldn't say like individualized. I mean, obviously they tell you what you need to work on, and it's kind of just like everyone's, like you said, it's individualized. So you know in your head who you are and what you need to work on. So it's just like little things. Like it could be the same skill, but just tweaking something like 2 different ways. So just knowing that and, taking it into every drill and trying to, use that. And obviously, we're here to develop like the camp says, and, don't be afraid to make mistakes. So just keeping that in mind, and I'm just trying to go out and execute those skills that we're trying to learn.
And anything that you might anticipate working on in the coming year?
Yeah, as like you said before, I'm a little smaller guy, so just always working on my puck protection and being able to, create space and time for myself, and, keep my body in between the puck and the defender or whoever it is, and, just trying to keep the puck on my stick as long as possible.
Well, I appreciate you coming in today. Good luck with the rest of the dev camp. And if you see Jeff Giuliano again, let him know the Kings fans remember him.
All right, will do. Thank you.
Joining us today at development camp for the LA Kings, Jared Wright. How are you doing today, Jared?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Now, I have to confess something kind of embarrassing. After sessions of development camp, they open up the room. We're allowed to go in and talk to different people. It's been a chaotic week leading up to this for everybody, but I was in Vegas and draft stuff. I came home Sunday. I just turned off my brain, did as little work as I possibly could. And then Monday morning, they were like, all right, who are we going to talk to? Who's available? We're going to divide and conquer. I got your name on my list of people to talk to. So I was like, all right, I'm going to talk to Jared Wright. And your first answer to me was talking about how much fun it was to win the last game of the season. And I got to confess, I had completely forgotten that you guys won the national championship. And as you said that, I was like, oh, come on, man. Like, you could have had so many questions. So we're going to go right back to that. We're going to talk about that to start off. You did win the last game of the season. The Denver Pioneers, you got that right?
Yep. Yeah.
Won the national championship 2-0. How much fun is it to win a game 2-0 in that stressful environment as compared to the previous game where you guys had to go to overtime and win 2-1?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, especially beating the number 1 seed Boston College. Obviously, they have a lot of offensive talent and a very elite team. So I think it was just it even started before that when we beat BU, when we beat BC, and just the whole process at the Frozen Four was really fun and a great experience for our team. And just especially winning at home in front of my family, in front of my grandparents who don't get to see me a whole lot. So that kind of added a whole nother level to it.
I watched, that was probably the only college hockey game I watched that year. Sorry. Apologies. But at one point it was 1-0, obviously. And then once it got to be 2-0, I thought, oh, I kind of feel like they have this in the bag. At what point in the game did you feel like this is in the bag?
Not till it hit 0. I mean, they're that good of a team. They have all those first round picks. And I mean, they were number 1 for probably 70% of the year. I think they only lost 5 or 6 games. And yeah, really, I mean, Matty Davis had a big save on the back door and on the power play. And really, they just had a lot of chances. I think they had maybe 20 plus shots in the third period. And really it didn't really set in that we were going to win until the dying seconds there.
When you have a team, you guys, I think the first 3 games leading up to the final, you all won each of them 2-1. Last game of the season, 2-0. So goaltending, defense, team buy-in, commitment, all of that has to be a huge part of it. At what point in the season does that really start to sink in, and do you start to see that identity?
I think it kicked in earlier in the year, probably about like 70% of the way in when we lost to Western at home 7-2. And I mean, I think we all, just like you said, just made a big commitment towards defense and protecting the house, and I think it paid dividends at the end of the year. The 2-1 win in the regional semifinal was our first 2-1 win all year, and then kind of just rolled with it, and obviously served us well in winning the national championship.
So you went to Denver, but you're from Burnsville, Minnesota. And I need you to explain as best you can what it is. What is the fascination with people from Minnesota and other people from Minnesota? Like, I get it. People from Minnesota are very nice and friendly, but we've got a couple front office employees who are from Minnesota. And if they bump into Mikey Anderson or Blake, well, not Blake Lizotte anymore, unfortunately, but they are just thrilled, and the two of them will stand there and talk for 30 minutes about how great Minnesota is. Is Minnesota really that great? Like, do we all really need to go there?
I think so. I think it's a lot of fun. I think everyone just goes through a similar process when they go to through Minnesota, just playing mites, squirts, peewees, bantams, and then high school. Then some guys obviously leave earlier than others, but I think just that common path, and I think you can share a lot of cool experience with other people. Like I always talk about with other people from Minnesota, if you play in the state tournament, that's a big deal. If other people play in that, and just always sharing a experience with those people.
If I asked you to sing the state of Minnesota or the state of hockey song, could you do it?
I definitely couldn't.
Okay. No. I should have loaded it so I could play it for you. But so your mom was a gymnast. Mm-hmm. Was there ever any pressure to go into that? Did you take, gymnastics growing up?
No, I never touched gymnastics.
Right.
But yeah.
And your brother is also a collegiate hockey player.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
How competitive do you guys get with each other?
I would say we're pretty competitive, no matter what it is. Whether it's just like video games, playing soccer in the summer, pickleball, anything. We're always going at it.
Who's the better video game player?
Definitely me.
Okay. Okay. Does he know that? Would he answer the same way?
Probably not.
All right. Now, this may be, I don't know how correct this is anymore, but I also read that you volunteer with Feed My Starving Children. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about how you got invested in that, what it means to you, and how much time does that take up?
Just a couple weekends during the summer with my buddies. I think it's big to give back to the community and serve others. That's always what I was taught from a young age, and especially at St. Thomas Academy. We also did a lot of service work at my high school, and just I would just say that's just instilled from my grandparents, my mom, and but it's overall been a really good experience, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone.
Is there any connection between that mentality and your approach to your hockey career?
I'm not really sure. Definitely there takes a lot of effort, a lot of dedication through the process of Feed My Starving Children, which I think could bleed into the hockey as well. Everyone's so committed to the game, and I feel like you have to have a love and passion, not only for people, but the game of hockey. And I think both of those are similar to each other.
All right. Sorry for throwing you some heavy ones there. We're lighting it back up again. Says you like to golf and fish. Mm-hmm. Fishing sounds like a very Minnesota activity. Are you able to golf during the season at Denver?
You probably could, but I don't. Yeah. Usually, both golfing and fishing is during the summer with my grandpa. I pretty much, whenever I'm not playing hockey, I'm doing something with my grandpa.
It sounds like your grandparents are fairly important to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct.
Who is probably a group of people, but when it comes to hockey, you're growing up. Which family member, if there is one, sort of set you on the hockey path, and really, like, if a day should ever, like, who's the first person you text when you win the national championship?
I mean, it's definitely be my mom, the first person I text, but it's more than just one person. I mean, it's my Uncle Joe who lives in Iowa, my grandpa, and then my mom. I mean, they all put money together to help me in hockey and put me to St. Thomas Academy. I wouldn't have went to St. Thomas Academy if it wasn't for them funding that, and it was a whole kind of group effort, and that's kind of when I decided I wanted to take my hockey to the next level. So I'm very grateful for them.
So we're about halfway through this year's dev camp. It's only 3 days this year, and you still have a session to get out there in the morning. But one day down, how does it compare to previous dev camp?
I think I'm just a lot more comfortable with the staff. I mean, Stoley and Donnelly are top tier guys. I mean, they're always teaching us whether it's on ice, off ice, and basically they just preach the fundamentals, and you need to have these fundamentals down in order to play in the NHL. So they're very important days and just things they're teaching.
Was there homework from last year? Did they say, like, we want you to specifically focus on these areas?
I would just say my shot. I mean, I came here last August and came in with Donnelly, and we really hammered in on my shot, although it still needs a lot of work. I think I'm getting better at it, and just continuing to do that. And then also puck protection, just trying to hold on to pucks more and just not as much turnovers. I get it. You want to play with the puck.
Working on a shot, I imagine there's a physical element of it, like how your body moves, where you're creating the power from, et cetera. But there's also got to be a mental part of it as well. What does working on a shot look like when you also have classes and a coaching staff at Denver and games to play and a social life to lead? And I mean, where do you find time, and what are the little things you can do to work on a shot?
I mean, just looking at other players, I think just people that score in the NHL, just whenever you have spare time before you go to bed, just search up someone on YouTube that's a really good goal scorer, and you can take little tips and tricks from them. And then just also, like you said, just physically practicing it on the ice, those moves, and trying them in practice. And I truly believe that with a lot of repetition, you can become really good at something.
Excellent. Well, Jared Wright, appreciate your time. I'm going to let you get back to your day because I know you've got a lot of stuff to do. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Joining us now on day 3 of LA Kings Development Camp 2024, Matthew Mania. How are you doing today, Matt?
Pretty good. How are you?
Do you prefer Matthew?
It's up to you.
All right. So right off the hop, there was a trade in June, and you were involved in it. You get traded from the Sudbury Wolves to the Flint Firebirds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
3 players going one way and the rights to a 4th for 2 players and 9 draft picks.
Yeah.
I got so many questions about what a trade like that is in the it's the OHL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when a trade happens like that, how much heads up do you get that that's going to happen?
I knew something was coming for sure. I mean, talked about it with my agent and my player development guys and stuff. So, I got a bit of heads up. I knew something could possibly happen, and then that day came and it just happened.
Now you're 19, so this doesn't necessarily impact you. But if you're a 17, 18-year-old kid taking classes and a trade like that happens, how disruptive is that to your life, and how much was your life less disrupted because you're 19?
I mean, I feel like it's just like they have people for that to help you figure out where you're going to go to school and stuff like that. So I think it's easier than it seems for sure. And, for me, it's pretty good. I grew up in Michigan, so it's awesome going home.
But do you need a new billet family? I mean, you're legally an adult.
As
you said, there are people for that, and it's a weird, the CHL has this weird overlap where you're technically legally an adult, but you're in a system that is set up to deal with kids. No offense.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'll have a new billet family, everything like that, and they set that all up, so I'm sure it'll be good.
And is it flattering to be involved in a trade where 9 picks go the other way? Flint must really want the guys they acquired, including you.
Yeah, I mean, we got big plans for this year, so they did what they thought was gonna help the team and help the organization. So yeah, it feels pretty good.
Now you said you live in Michigan, or you're from Michigan, and yet in my Matthew Mania research, I discovered that you're born in Florida. And there I am watching YouTube last night, and a YouTube short pops up with you claiming Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, so I was born in Florida, and I lived there until I was like 10 years old. And then I moved to Michigan, played hockey there for 4 or 5 years. And then once I started moving away for hockey, my family moved to Cleveland, Ohio. But I still train in Michigan in the summers, so I stay there.
I'm not a huge college football guy, but back me up on this, Shaft. I feel like Michigan and Ohio are not really loosey-goosey with allegiances, so you might want to...
Yeah, no, I kind of stay away from that.
Yeah, you might want to nail down which is which. But from the States, you've been playing in Canada for the last couple of years, but now you've been named to the WJC Summer Showcase USA roster 2024, along with Hampton Slukinski and James Reeder, 3 Kings prospects, including yourself. Do you know Hampton and James at all?
I mean, just like I know I'm just from playing with them and playing against them over the years, and Hammer was obviously here last year, so I talked to him a bit, and yeah, I mean, just guys are guys, so everyone's pretty cool. So
every time we talk to a Canadian about, as they say, putting on the maple leaf, you can almost taste the maple syrup and hear the loons in the background as the patriotism rises. Is it the same playing for Team USA? I mean, obviously we have a much bigger country with a much larger, but I shouldn't say bigger geographically, but population wise.
Yeah, it's obviously a huge honor to represent your country in any way, whether it's just a showcase or making the team as well. It's always a huge honor to wear the red, white, and blue. So
I want to talk a little bit about Matthew Mania on the ice, because one thing we've noticed over the last couple of years is that the Kings tend to draft or acquire left shot defensemen that fit a certain profile and right shot defensemen that fit a certain profile. You are part of that profile, puck moving, skating, offensive minded defenseman. We talked to Sean O'Donnell yesterday after the scrimmage, and I asked him, is it easier to try and teach an offensive minded defenseman to be a defense, to play a little defense, or is it easier to teach a defensive-minded defenseman, how to make a breakout pass or how to move the puck around? And he said it's easier to teach defense. Yesterday during the scrimmage, I was watching, and I guess because of your profile, I was expecting to see more flash, but I felt like I saw a lot of plays where you were breaking plays up with your stick, your body, just solid defensive something. Is that something that you've been focusing on yourself? Have they asked you to work on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I like they've been preaching to us all camp long. If you can't defend, you can't play. So I've just been working on like my defensive side of the game. I know my offensive ability and stuff like that will it'll always be there. And when the time is right to bring up the puck and stuff like that, it'll be the time. But the name of my position is defense. So I've been working on defending a lot more, and I feel as if I'm getting a lot better. So
now, having said all that, I saw a play during the scrimmage. I'm going to pull up a clip off of Twitter. This isn't from the scrimmage. This is a different play of you, I think, in Sudbury, but it looked, I don't know about identical to what I saw you do in the scrimmage, but it was real similar. So you were coming out of your own zone. You crossed the blue line. I'm going to unmute my computer and play this clip. After you hit your own blue line, that's where the change builds up, but coming out of your zone and moving through the neutral zone, this looked a lot like what happened yesterday.
Just cleared out of the zone as he did not have a play to push it back into the zone again. So here comes Matt Mania. Beautiful play, Mania. Score!
Do you remember that play?
Yeah, I do.
How often do you move through the neutral zone like that?
I mean, when I have the open ice, I like to take it, I feel I can make plays when I have ice, and I like to get my feet going and make plays. So
I'm going to read a little scouting report that we pulled last year. 2 years ago? When were you drafted?
Last year.
Okay, last year. There's so many kids, and I lose track of when. Few players squeeze as much value out of every puck touch. Mania never settles, instead manipulating multiple opponents to create a better option. There's so much creativity to Mania's game. He activates into the rush with give and goes after pulling the puck off the boards, beats opponents with backhand drags, slices through forecheckers with long-range passes, weaves through the opponents with shocking ease, and breaks down opponents at the point before setting up teammates across the slot. I saw a lot of that in what we watched yesterday. I've seen a lot of that in the highlights I've watched from you. But like I said, watching that scrimmage yesterday, I was also seeing a lot of I'm a defense first guy. I think blocking shots is just as exciting as scoring. If I'm watching basketball, I want to see the guy block the shot more than I want to see an open dunk. So I was getting really excited watching you make these plays in the defensive zone. But where does that creativity, do you think, come from? I know that's sort of a vague question, but do you find that element of showing up in other parts of your life?
I mean, I feel like I don't know, that's kind of a tough question. I feel like I like to be loose. And
let me rephrase it, sorry. You listed in 2 different interviews I saw your favorite players as Victor Hedman and also Cale Makar. If I could wave a magic wand and turn you into one of them, but only one of them, which one would you choose?
Well, I'd probably say Cale Makar, but that he's one of a kind, and there's no one really like him. So I mean, trying to take inspiration from his game. Obviously, he's on another planet. So just watching guys like that, both of them, even taking bits and pieces of as many players as I can like that, it just helps out a lot.
I love asking defensemen this question, and I have a sneaking suspicion I know how you're going to answer it. The question is simple. If you had the chance to either score the game-winning goal with a minute left in regulation or have your team be up by 1 and you are blocking the shot that would give the other team the tie, which would you rather do?
I mean, it's 50-50. Yeah, I don't know if I can pick one or the other because, they're both just as important as each other. Sacrificing your body to save the game or, scoring a goal is great, but, a bunch of things got to happen. Teammates got to make a good play or, something like that. But, I mean, either or, I'd be happy with either.
Heading into World Juniors, or backtracking a little bit to the World Junior Summer Showcase, you have to work with that coaching staff, the coaches you've got here at development camp, the coaches you'll deal with at Flint. You've got all the stuff in your head from being in Sudbury for the last couple of years. Do you have independent individual coaches as well?
Not really. I work on, video with my coaches in Flint here recently, and, with Odie and Greener, they're helping out a lot. So, just working, using every resource possible.
How do you prioritize 3 different teams wanting 3 different versions of Matthew Mania?
I don't know if they want different versions of me. I think they want the complete me, which is what I want to bring to each team. So
this kid keeps giving me excellent answers. Sorry, I'm talking to Jared Chaffron for everybody who wonders why I'm constantly referring to some mystery person. Listen, Matthew Mania, thank you very much for joining me. Appreciate it. We're going to let you get back to your day, and I look forward to seeing more from you in the future.
Yeah, thank you.